A fascinating offseason awaits for the Los Angeles Lakers. Who are they going to hire as head coach, and what are they going to do with this roster? At the end of the day, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because we'll keep you in the know with all of the moves that the Lakers do and don't make throughout this offseason. So hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/LakersTV. And with that, let's take a look at the updated Lakers head coaching hot board. Here we go. You're watching the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you are having a good week. The same cannot be said for Frank Vogel, but it's an exciting time for the Los Angeles Lakers. They miss out on the playoffs, but a fascinating offseason awaits, as I talked about, because what are they going to do with this roster? Are they going to trade away Russell Westbrook? Are they going to get LeBron James some help? Is an Anthony Davis trade going to happen, or are they going to wait to make some of these roster moves to see which coach they can hire? So coming up in a few moments, we'll get to the new updated top 10 candidates to replace Frank Vogel. But first, Rob Pelinka had his end of the season press conference yesterday and of course was asked about the head coaching gig and Frank Vogel. Here's what he had to say in terms of what the Lakers are looking for, in terms of what this team needs now. Rob Pelinka said, "We feel like with obviously superstars on our team, we want a strong voice that's able to inspire the players to play at the highest level of competition every night. And I think that's going to be one of the resounding qualities we look for in terms of holding everybody from the top player on our team, hello LeBron James, to the 15th man to a degree of accountability." And that's going to be one of the many characteristics, I think, that jumps out today. Now, I thought it was pretty interesting that Rob Pelinka said, look, we want a leader at the head coaching position who can really tap in to the star players on this roster. Then you had Russell Westbrook kind of taking shots at Frank Vogel as well, saying, you know, when I was traded here, him and his wife were celebrating an anniversary, and I sent up a bottle of champagne to their hotel room, and I thought we were going to get off to a good start. And then really, I never felt as though I got that respect from Frank Vogel, and I kind of clashed with him all throughout the year. There was also that report during a practice about Frank Vogel saying, okay, when we rebound the basketball, outlet pass, and whoever is out there can bring the ball up the floor. And Russell's like, no, I'm the point guard. I bring the ball up on the floor. So a little bit of a weird kind of scenario between Russell Westbrook and Frank Vogel in that regard, but either way, it didn't work out. And we'll see if Russell Westbrook is on this team. Already Frank Vogel, not the head coach of this team. So before we break down the updated top 10 candidates to replace Frank Vogel, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So I want all of you to scroll on down and get your votes in, especially if you get hit with that YouTube ad break. Who should the Lakers hire as their next head coach? Give me a name in the comment section. Starting off our Lakers top 10 hot board, LeBron James. Could he be a player? Could he be a coach? Look, back in the day with the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell was able to do it. Didn't stop him from putting up numbers and winning a bunch of NBA championships. A little bit of a sarcastic take on this, but we know LeBron James has a lot of power within this organization. At number 9, current lead assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks under Mike Budenholzer, that is Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham has interviewed 4 head coaching gigs in the NBA before, and I think it's a matter of time before he lands his first head coaching opportunity. And look, everybody wanted to rip Coach Mike Budenholzer a couple years ago because of the playoff shortcomings with the Milwaukee Bucks. Coach Bud has been able to reverse that narrative with what the Bucks did last year during that playoff run and really in the NBA Finals, taking down an elite and very good Phoenix Suns team. And look, what he did with the Atlanta Hawks was really, really fascinating and impressive as well. They're winning 40, 50 games every year and making it deep into the playoffs for a small market without star power. I thought what Bud was able to do with Atlanta and now with Milwaukee was and has been impressive. At number 8, Terry Stotts, former head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers when Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum were there. And Terry Stotts, his first year as head coach, that was the first draft pick that the Blazers made. They took Damian Lillard out of Weber State. For me, this doesn't really move the needle all that much. This would be a pretty mundane hire. I don't think that Terry Stotts would really instill a lot of confidence or excitement within this fan base. Won a lot of games with the Portland Trail Blazers. He deserves credit for that one trip to the Western Conference Finals. I just think there are better candidates out there, and I think the Lakers are looking to make more of a splash. Now, the NBA playoffs are underway, and the Lakers are not in the playoff equation, but still, the Western Western Conference odds are pretty fascinating, and the championship odds are as well. If you want to get your bets in for future NFL games or NBA playoff games, NBA play-in games are tonight and tomorrow. Chatsports.com/Lakers. Enter the promo code Lakers125 for a 125% deposit bonus. Let's just say you put $100 into your account using that link in that promo code. You get an additional $125 back. We talk about this NBA title odds. Here they are to my right. Phoenix Suns leading the charge at plus 275. Milwaukee Bucks at plus 550. Brooklyn Nets at plus 650. Miami Heat plus 900 odds. That means if you put down $1 and they end up winning the NBA championship, you get about $9 back. Boston Celtics, 5th in NBA title odds as well. They've been the hottest team in the NBA following the NBA All-Star game. Let's move ahead in this list. At number 7, Doc Rivers, current head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, but he's starting to feel the heat a little bit on Sunday night. He went off on the media. He's on the hot seat because of all the playoff shortcomings we've seen when he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers. He's blown the most 3-1 leads in the history of the NBA in terms of coaches, and if the Sixers fail to get past the first round against the Toronto Raptors and even fail to get past the second round, I think the Sixers could fire him because keep in mind, Daryl Morey, who's one of the highest paid executives in the NBA, did not hire Doc Rivers as the head coach. It was Elton Brand prior to Daryl Morey landing that gig. Now, there are certainly pros and cons with Doc Rivers as a head coach in the NBA, and he's had a long and successful stint as a coach at the NBA level with the Orlando Magic during that rebuild, helping to turn that franchise around. Prior to Stan Van Gundy, he goes to the Boston Celtics with that big three of Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. They win an NBA championship over the Lakers in 2008, but since then, there have been so many playoff choke jobs for Doc Rivers. He's done some great things. Man, there have been some disastrous playoff showings. The pros for him, wins a lot of games. He's developed some young players like Tyrese Maxey. He's brought the best out of Joel Embiid when Brett Brown could not. He's respected by peers and players because of his time as a coach and as a player. The cons, though, lack of in-game adjustments are really, really concerning, especially during the course of a playoff series. I think Nick Nurse might run laps around him in this first-round series against the Toronto Raptors. The substitution patterns and blown leads can be questioned as well, and the lack of mental fortitude from him as well as his basketball teams have caused them to blow a lot of leads in-game and throughout playoff series as well. At number 6, Mark Jackson, a guy who LeBron James, according to reports, would really, really like to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. A little bit of a surprise that LeBron is pinpointing him as being the next guy to take over the bench role for Frank Vogel, but according to The Athletic, LeBron would be, quote, very enthused by the idea of Mark Jackson as a head coach. Now, you look at his head coaching resume, it's somewhat of a surprise that he has not landed another head coaching gig after his stint with the Golden State Warriors, because he did some good things in the early days of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. 2011, 2012, 23-43, they missed the playoffs, but nobody was expecting the Warriors to really do anything that year. 2012-13, lost in the Western Conference semifinals. The following year, I think there were a lot of expectations for the Warriors to compete further in the playoffs. They didn't. They lost in the first round after winning 51 games. Now, Jackson tried to get back into the NBA before. He's been a longtime game analyst for ESPN on one of their leading broadcast crews, and I think he's done a good job on the microphone. Can he get back to being a head coach? I think he wants to, and if he gets an opportunity to do so with the Los Angeles Lakers, with LeBron James still playing good basketball, Anthony Davis and question marks after that, it'd be a good opportunity for him. What do you think, though, as we continue to break down this Lakers head coaching hotboard? Should the Lakers hire Mark Jackson? Are you enthused about the idea like LeBron James would be? Type Y for yes or type N for no. At number 5 for me, it's Sam Cassell. And maybe I have him higher on this list as compared to a lot of other people, but I love what he's been able to do with player development and leadership with the Los Angeles Clippers under Doc Rivers and with the Philadelphia 76ers under Doc Rivers. And if Daryl Morey were to move on from Doc Rivers, me personally, if I was Daryl Morey, I would immediately vault Sam Cassell to the top of that list for the Sixers to replace Doc Rivers. What he's done with Tyrese Maxey from year 1 to year 2 has been tremendous, where Tyrese Maxey is about a 44% three-point shooter. The growth from year 1 to year 2 has been profound, and Sam Cassell has been credited with the development of Tyrese Maxey. So if he can do that with some young players and then also kind of handle that star power like Frank Vogel could not, that's really the takeaway I got from Rob Pelinka. He could be a primetime candidate for Los Angeles. Make sure you subscribe to the Lakers Report by Chat Sports as we continue to churn out multiple videos per week as one of the best and leading Lakers channels here on YouTube. Either hit that subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/LakersTV. We have you updated with the Lakers coaching search, NBA free agency updates. The Lakers made a lot of moves last year that weren't good. Hopefully this year it's a lot of moves that are good. Latest Lakers trade rumors. We always have you covered on that front, because we do the news and rumors game better than anybody else, and we're all about audience interaction as well. Mailbags, where we take all of your Lakers-related questions. Let's try to get to 43,000 subs as soon as possible as one of the biggest and largest and best Lakers channels here on YouTube. One more time, hit that red subscribe button down below or plug in that link at the bottom of your screen. Number 4, I personally don't really like David Fizdale as a head coaching candidate to take over for Frank Vogel. I just think it's realistic that he could be one of the leading candidates for Los Angeles because he knows LeBron James well. He was the lead assistant under Frank Vogel, has familiarity with this organization, which they seem to like if you look at their recent history and long-term history. And I think the star players on this team would be able to get along with him well. Now, his head coaching tenures have been a little bit spotty. There's no doubt about it. 2 years with the Memphis Grizzlies, and his second year, he was fired in the midseason after a first-round playoff appearance. And then he goes to the New York Knicks. And it's hard to judge a head coach on what they do with the New York Knicks because that's one of the worst-run professional organizations in all 4 major sports: NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, as well as, what am I missing? NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL. The Knicks are just an absolute disaster, right? So they didn't have any patience with David Fizdale at all, and because of that, what was the other trend in Memphis? He was fired in his second season with the Grizzlies, fired in his second season with the New York Knicks. Maybe this is kind of a Jason Kidd scenario where he takes a couple of years off from being a head coach. He's able to learn on the fly, and then on his third stint, he gets a little bit better because that was the same trajectory for Jason Kidd with the Nets, with the Bucks, assistant with the Lakers. Now he's doing some great work with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, a reason why I have Fizdale as high on this list as I do is that LeBron has ties with him. And David Fizdale does have a bold personality. So because of that, I think that he'd be able to get in the ear of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and some of the star players on this team. So that's why I have David Fizdale on this list. I just don't love him as a candidate, but I think he is going to be one of the finalists for this job. Is it more important for the Lakers to get free agency right or trades right? Another question for the audience, and I want you to treat that comment section like a Sports Talk Radio call-in line. F for free agency or T for trades. Get those votes in. At number 3, Quin Snyder. Now, he has fallen on this list because of some of the recent reports out there, and that has also played a part in why we have this updated list as such. According to the Los Angeles Times, Quin Snyder, quote, less interested in the Lakers opening due to how Frank Vogel was fired and how the Lakers handled it, where Frank Vogel, after the final game of the regular season, said, I haven't been told shit. I was just happy that these young guys performed in the final game of the regular season, and we got the win. The fact that the front office didn't inform Frank Vogel that he was fired, but then Adrian Wojnarowski had it, that ain't good, and the optics of that are not pretty either. But Quin Snyder, as a basketball guy, as a head coach, has been tremendous in 8 years in Utah. Develop players, X's and O's guy, can make adjustments on the fly, and has had a lot of success with Utah. 372, 264 in 8 years, almost a 59% winning percentage. That's better than the Los Angeles Lakers over the last decade or so. The Jazz have made the last 6 playoffs. He's had success in a smaller NBA market, which I think is pretty impressive given the resources at his fingertips. 19-26 record in the playoffs, but I think he's maximized that roster. Has not reached the conference finals, but I think it's only a matter of time before he's able to do that. Two more spots to get to. Juwan Howard, a popular name right now who we've talked about on Monday and on Sunday's show. According to the LA Times, once again, Howard wants to stay at Michigan and continue coaching his two sons. But I think there's a way to sway Juwan Howard. If you go up to him and you say, look, this is the most iconic brand in the NBA. We're going to keep LeBron James. We're going to hope that Anthony Davis stays healthy. We're going to find a way to offload ourselves of that Russell Westbrook contract to really make this roster deeper and have it make more seamless sense. We'll give you a lot of money. You come to Los Angeles, better weather than Michigan, and you have an opportunity to compete for NBA championships as compared to NCAA championships. Now, I understand the attraction of coaching your sons, but Juwan, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. As for the pros and cons with Juwan Howard, Elite Eight, Sweet 16 appearances, the last two tournament appearances, ties with LeBron James from his days with the Miami Heat, developed as a head coach under Eric Spoelstra. The cons, no NBA head coaching experience, but longtime assistant at the NBA level. Does his coaching style adapt to stars? I think it would, because he was a star in college, Fab Five, and a very good player at the NBA level. Because of that, I think he gets a lot of respect from other players in the NBA. The other con, the Wisconsin incident, among others. Bang, hit that assistant coach on that Wisconsin staff. The emotions got the best of him. Coming in at number one on our latest Lakers head coaching hot board, it is Nick Nurse, current head coach of the Toronto Raptors. I love the idea of the Lakers hiring Nick Nurse for a multitude of reasons. Sam, bring it on to me, because I want to clip this and I want to put it on my social media feeds. Los Angeles Lakers, this is what you have to do. You have to go out there and you have to hire Nick Nurse and do whatever you have to do to bring him in as the next head coach to replace Frank Vogel. Los Angeles loves stars. The Lakers brand is the most iconic in the history of the NBA. So take a big swing, go for the grand slam, and try to land the Leonardo DiCaprio of coaching. That is what Nick Nurse is. He's right up there with Eric Spoelstra, and you can make the argument with what he's been able to do with the Toronto Raptors this year, as they are on the cusp of winning 50 games this year, during a rebuilding season without a bona fide superstar, a year after they won less than 30 games, is incredibly impressive. As an X's and O's guy, as a guy who can make adjustments in game, as a guy who can pivot on the fly throughout the course and duration of a playoff series, Nick Nurse fills all of those voids. He didn't have an easy situation in Toronto the year that they won an NBA championship, which, by the way, was his debut season and first year as an NBA head coach, because he knew it was the last year that Kawhi Leonard was going to play north of the border, but still, the Toronto Raptors were able to end the Golden State Warriors dynasty. A big reason for that, Nick Nurse. So to the Buss family, to Rob Pelinka, make a big splash, put that ball on a tee, knock that puppy out of the park, and do whatever you have to do to make Nick Nurse the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Give him a lot of money and tell him that we have LeBron James, Anthony Davis. We're going to trade Russell Westbrook and do whatever we have to do to give you the best roster to win our league-leading 18th NBA championship. So let's run through this list one more time. Number 10, LeBron James. Kind of a joke, but we like to have fun here on the show. Darvin Ham, Terry Stotts, Doc Rivers, Mark Jackson, Sam Cassell, David Fizdale, Quin Snyder, Juwan Howard, and Nick Nurse. The top 10 candidates from us here at Chat Sports and yours truly to replace Frank Vogel. Subscribe, because we'll keep you in the know with all things Lakers all year round.